Jabba Jaw's in the booth, Vulgar Desperado on the mic, and I didn't think I would do it, but yo, let's get at this Ahsoka review. Alright, now let me be clear before we go any further. I am not, and I gotta repeat this, I am not an Ahsoka fan. Now, doesn't mean that I hate the character or have some ill will or even have a nice rant for you. I just simply don't give a fuck. I don't, that's kind of how it is. Now, I know a lot of people's got a hard on for Ahsoka.
Did I ever tell you about Ahsoka Tano? She was your father's exotic teenage alien apprentice, a fine piece of jailbait from a more civilized age.
Now, if anything, I guess you could say that I'm not a big fan of Anakin having an apprentice. Kind of takes away from the whole non-being a master, roasting the memes that we have love on the internet. That being said, I am a bit of a hypocrite, because Starkiller's that dude, you already know. And you're probably wondering yourself, okay, well, if you don't give a shit about Ahsoka, why are you even about to do a review on it? I'll be real, the ad worked on me. I saw a little teaser, I saw the lightsaber swinging, and I was kind of about it. I even had thoughts to myself, you know what, I'm going to watch this just to see if this is better than Obi-Wan Kenobi. Because there's always a chance, because I think that was one of the most egregious things that Disney did. I mean, the Rey trilogy is bad enough, but the nerfing and bastardization of one Obi-Wan Kenobi and a little bit of Luke in that series too they thought it was the last straw. But here I am, we're gonna give Ahsoka a try, and this is gonna be just kind of a go through it as I see it kind of review. Just kind of gonna go through the episode, talk about some things, and just kind of give my little thoughts of opinion. But before we do that, please hit that like, hit that subscribe. Would really appreciate it on our road to 1,000. Leave some comments, tell me if you like the show or not, and we'll have some fun here. Thank you very much. So first things first, this opening crawl had me kind of weak, because I was like, bruh, red was not the best choice. Now, yeah, I ain't trying to be a purist over here talking about it needs to be yellow or blue first and blah. Nah, I just thought this shit looked evil. I mean, shit, Homegirl is orange in and of itself, so red just looked way too Sithy. That just, to me, was a weird choice. Now, the opening crawls more or less kind of tell you what this show's about to be about. Ahsoka is essentially doing the same shit Rey was doing. You find something that leads to a map, that leads to a person. It's literally the same shit that they was doing up in The Last Jedi or whatever, and even technically in the Jedi Fallen Survivor series. Like, you look for a map that's leading to other people. I don't get why there's no other, tricks in the box, but that's what we're doing here. And another thing, this opening crawl literally let me know, which I kind of figured out later on in the episode, but yo, you have to kind of be familiar with a bunch of Disney Star Wars to get this series. This is not an easily accessible series if you're just, a fan of the movies and maybe a couple books and games here and there. It's really kind of diving into or rather expects you to know who the fuck these Star Wars Rebels peoples are. So in a very Phantom Menace-like opening, there's two non-Jedi Jedis come through and break out the captured prisoner that Ahsoka had apparently got captured earlier off screen. They come through, fuck shit up, and relatively a pretty cool manner. All these people out here trying with their blasters but failing. And essentially, that's kind of, it wasn't a bad opening. I don't know who the characters are. Maybe some other people knew who they were before the shit was going on. But to me, there was a bunch of no-name faces. I didn't even know who they were. But I was cool and happy to see some lightsabers. That was kind of my biggest thing, and I appreciate that. And on that note here, you get to see Ahsoka actually show off some of her lightsaber skills in a flashy way, just to literally go down to a different level of terrain and also show off how she murks up some of these robots. And there's a lot of articles out here where they're trying to go away from the Jedi and the Sith, and the show kind of points to that, but it is tight to actually see some sick lightsaber action. I don't know about y'all, but that's why I'm here for Star Wars, the lightsabers. After she goes down, Ahsoka comes across the fifth element here, and then from that, she uses the fifth element to get a map that's apparently later on you find out is the map to Thrawn. And Somebody can let me know in the comments if Thrawn is a Disney made character, or if he was a, old Lucas era kind of character, not necessarily George making him, but just from that time frame with the expanded universe. Let me know, because I know the name is popular. A lot of people like the dude. I'm not gonna lie and say again, I don't give a shit, but it does seem kind of like that pulling off of names that you know to kind of sell your shit. Homie's name gets dropped a lot in this series, or 2 episodes rather, and I'm just curious, was he here before, or is he a Disney guy? Now, I mentioned this before, and it's still true. The fights were pretty sick, her fighting the 4 robots in the beginning opening sequence. However, I grabbed this screenshot here because I feel like, and this happened throughout both episodes, anytime there was a lightsaber clash, it was just not, well, not a clash. It was like they weren't struggling, like somebody wasn't trying to push up on them. They were just kind of holding position, which just makes it look like choreography. And in that sense, I'm just kind of thinking to myself, like, yo, sell that shit more, sell it a little bit better. I want to see people balls to the walls action. Now, don't get me wrong, nobody's gonna do it like Ewan and Hayden Christensen did back in the day, but I just think for a company that tries to appease to the Chinese market, you would think they would, hire some Chinese choreographers and, I don't know, sell those fights a little bit better. Like, some of these fights were kind of mid in certain aspects. It's gonna be super nitpicky, but I never really understood why the characters never used the Force Super Run or Super Speed. I know y'all remember that in episode 1, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan dip set out there with a little speed boost, and you never see that power again. I mean, all these robots about to die, you would think, or explode rather, and you would think this would be a good time to use it. Instead, she out here regular running, just for her to go and force jump in the next scene later. And, it is what it is, not a real problem, but I'm just thinking to myself, why does no one ever use that power? Y'all want to make new powers, but never use the old ones. Now, this is where I guess I can kind of go over the show in just a general regard and kind of talk about some things in a little more abstract nature. So, one thing I kind of noticed about the show is essentially it looked good. I think the costume designs is fantastic. Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Rosario Dawson obviously are killing it in their roles. Whoever did the hair, makeup, that type shit is gold star for you. But in other random places, I felt like it just looked kind of cheap, or rather that everybody else was just doing cosplay. I know that sounds silly because the 2 most made up ones looked good, but everything else looked like trash to me. Not like in a super bad way, but just not in a Star Warsy kind of vibe. It just felt, I don't know, maybe like a Star Trek, or just something was off. One other thing that I did find that was kind of, again, the burden of this show is this whole Star Wars Rebel lore tie-in. Now, I know Dave Filoni, I think he was the lead showrunner or whatever on that show. He has a big hand in all that. But this shit was not accessible. You meet this girl who, Sabine, whatever the fuck her name is, already forgetting, and I don't care. And that's, no dig at the character or anything like that. It's just you literally have to have watched that shit to give a fuck. And the problem with that is I'm not gonna go watch Star Wars Rebels. Like, when it came out, it just looked way too childish. Now, I'm an anime cartoon fan, but long are the days of the Bruce Timm era of DC, Justice League, and Batman and stuff, where the cartoons still kind of had a air of badassness, if you will, for lack of a better word, because some of these things are just a little too childish, a little too mildly chibi-esque, or just super kid friendly to an appeal to an adult eye. That's just kind of the sad nature of it. Not to take away from the show or anything like that, but I never was a big fan of the design, and kind of the same thing with the Clone Wars one too. I wish they did that cartoon one longer instead of that CG one, but hey, everyone's gonna have their own opinions. Now, again, the problem with that is, you spend a lot of time with this chick Sabine, and I almost felt like picking up the wiki just to kind of understand who some of these characters were and what some of the crap they were talking about, because truly and honestly, I just didn't get it. It's a lot of you have to know, and that is kind of the problem, because Star Wars in the original 6, while episodic, it does have an opening crawl, and while there is tons of stuff that technically does happen in between each and every single movie, it's never felt so jarring with information that you were like, who the fuck and what's happening here. It somehow is able to stick to a easily followable story, even with all the galaxy's information and war and all that stuff happening. This, on the other hand, while it wasn't like jaunting, not like it's gonna, make your nose bleed with all this information, it is a little unappealing in the sense that I know I have to go look it up. Two, I don't care to look it up, and three, it just doesn't seem all that important. I don't know, it just doesn't really give me like the vibe that it matters. At least like Ahsoka in and of herself is such a, sometimes I like to call her like a OVA character. It's like, yeah, you're kind of canon, but you're not really canon, like technically she is in the whole Disney verse of it all, but if you kept it to what George was doing, yeah, she might not necessarily be all that canon. Now, next funny thing about this show was, again, the last fight, because Homegirl had me dying with her, I know, 1-2 moves. Like, yo, this shit started off early. She hit that other chick's lightsaber and got pushed back. And I was like, bruh, like, you went for the attack and then you got smacked back. Like, Homegirl is not that good at lightsaber fighting. She needs to get her skills up, and obviously that's what she's trying to do. By the end of the shit, she's kind of her apprentice again. But I couldn't help but laugh because I was like, dang, bro, she only got the 1-2 step, and then she got the PCing up. And listen, we gotta talk about lightsaber duels, okay? I love lightsaber fights. I love the art of it. But I think we're fronting that now when we just be making these duels happen, but act like people just can't die from these one-hitter quitters. Like, people really out here just surviving from that shit, and you're just kind of like, bruh, like, back in my day, Qui-Gon did not survive that shit. Why are we fronting and caping now? Like, let's just let people die, or, use our big brains here. Do it like episode 2. Dooku fucking yo arm, yo leg fucking to Obi-Wan, and he went down. There's no issue with that, and that makes a lot more sense. Or you can just do it classic style, chop off of him, maybe give us something new, chop off a foot. I don't really care, but you don't have to like do these kill moves. Like, way too many of these recent series, people are getting stabbed and surviving. John Boyega got sliced up the back fucking spine and survived. Just chop shit off. That would make a lot more sense. Now on to episode 2, and the funniest thing about episode 2 is literally the previously on Ahsoka. You could literally just watch that and get all of episode 1, because not a lot of shit happens, and really if you were short on time, just watch the previous bit, because it's a lot of bullshit. When I really sat back and thought about it, I was like, yo, there's a lot of slow angles, long pauses, introspective thinking, kind of an unnecessary bit. As we go into episode 2, you do see that Homegirl, what do you know, she survives a stabbing from a lightsaber. So, that was unexpected. And, we got more jargon here with the whole map. We're kind of getting, let known that there's 2 galaxies, which, listen, there's been like this Star Wars rumor that they're trying to introduce time travel, and to me personally, that kind of seemed like a door for that. I don't know how good of an idea that is, but that's just kind of what it seemed like. So, whatever, the 2 galaxy thing, I don't know if that's necessarily like dimension wise, or it's just like, systems, kind of how we do like star systems, I'm not too sure. If you know, let me know in the comments. Now, the show goes on with Ahsoka, and I cannot remember Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character name, but the green one. They're out there kind of trying to do some mission, trying to get some stuff, and they come across this mission, or this base where they're, selling goods and whatnot, but essentially these people are, still loyal to the Empire, where obviously this is like way past, episode 5 or 75, 6. So, there's really no Empire to be loyal to. A little action ensues, wasn't too bad, but nothing major. The other homegirl in the show, she decides that, hey, I got murked up and it's time to be a Mandalorian. Time to give myself the stereotypical haircut. You know what it is, short and colorful. And she ends up being Ahsoka's apprentice. That's literally all the fuck that happens in episode 2. It really wasn't that dazzling, but, it is what it is. Now, generally speaking, Both episodes together were okay. I do, in a weird way, think it was written better than Obi-Wan so far because, at the very least, like they respected the character of Ahsoka. Me being someone that does not give a shit about her, I at least know that she's a Jedi that can hang. Obi-Wan's out there like, oh, I'm turning away from the Jedi Order, and it's like, yeah, I've seen the PTS Obi-Wan video too, and I get where you're trying to go with that motif. But at the same time, Obi-Wan is like the quintessential Jedi, alright? He is literally Mr. Perfect Jedi Master, beat Anakin, and y'all made him beat him again. So even the idea that he would just kind of turn his back on it when he was supposed to be in training, it was kind of dumb. It was just kind of dumb. I can understand some issues, but Obi-Wan, to me, again, quintessential Jedi, I didn't really like that. And I think this story at least has a better direction going in it, and I think that stems from the fact that it is just pure Disney creations. I think they don't know what to do with George Lucas stuff because they don't understand the heart of it. Like for me personally, one thing that I notice, again, they always talk about trying to go away from the Jedi. Even in this stuff with Ahsoka, I walked away from the Jedi Order. It's like they keep trying to go away from generally what I know and love, and that is these stoic soldier force first doing the right thing. Not really necessarily soldiers, but people. What did Samuel Jackson call them? Keepers of the peace. Like I like that aspect of the Jedi. I like that it is a way of life, that they are calm and serene because they are in tune with the Force. This is a little bit different. They got more emotional Jedis, and to each their own. But at the very least, it still kind of has some fun action, so it's not like a terrible watch, but I kind of still don't care that much. I may stick with it. I don't know if I'll do more reviews on it because it's not much really going on so far, but I am kind of curious to see where it will go, or at least see if there's going to be some cool lightsaber fights, because that's what matters to me the most. And at the very least, yeah, Ahsoka starts off giving you more better Jedi fights than, or rather lightsaber fights, than what Obi-Wan did. So, points to Gryffindor there. But you let me know what you think in the comments. Did you like it? Did you think it was okay? Is it better than Obi-Wan? Are you just over Disney Star Wars in general? Because, hey, after all the bastardizations, even if they do one or two good, do we really want to give them a pass? You let me know in the comments. But for now, Jabberjaw's in the booth. Vulgar Desperado on the mic, and we'll catch you on the next one. Hit that like and subscribe. Peace.